Hi everyone, welcome back. For today's set, we're going to be playing with some really fun 3D clay fruit pieces. I'm going to show you how to apply them by using dip powder. We're also going to be using dip liquids as well, and we're also going to be playing with one color dip powder for our base today from Nelly Bells. So let's dive right in. We're going to do a set today on the shape short coffin, and then we're going to start off with some dip liquids today, and we're going to pick the perfect background color. In my opinion, it is Chloe. So originally I was gonna do like a rainbow kind of style mani, do like each nail a different color. But then when I was doing my test run to see how these fruit pieces performed, my base color was Chloe, the green that you see right here. And I totally fell in love with it. Plus the way it looked as the background with the fruit pieces on top of it was just everything. I feel like right here you can see this coverage is pretty amazing with that first coat. It's not like that pastel green, it's a light green, but yet it's still pulling in that perfect pop of brightness. And I really like it because it's very subtle, but yet it's still summery, because this is going to be our background and we want those fruit pieces to pop. So we're going to go ahead and apply Chloe to all of the nails. Another reason why I love this color is that it has a really pretty delicate shimmer to it, and you're going to see it come more to life with that second coat. And then when we finish up with the top coat, you're really going to see that shimmer just come to life. And the best part about the set that we're doing today is that you can incorporate any color that your heart desires for that background. So I just made sure everything was laying super flat before we moved on to the other nail here, and I am loving the coverage of this powder. So for the liquids here, I'm starting right below that cuticle line and then dragging that dip liquid all the way down, and then I'll go ahead and work that product all the way up to the cuticle line to prevent any flooding. I want to make sure that I'm not oversaturating that nail and then having some of that dip liquid go underneath that press-on set, because I want to try to avoid that, because I really want a smooth, clean application when it comes to applying the nail to my natural nail. So that is why I really love using the thinner side of the liquids as well. And the Sparkle & Co. dip liquids are super thin and they are perfect for making press-ons. I know if you get them individually, they're kind of expensive, but if you do like an auto shipment, it cuts the price almost like in half. So I just have the liquids on auto ship, and they come like every 3 months, and that works out perfect for my needs. You can do it like once a month too. Options are endless, but I do recommend, if you are going to order the liquids to save yourself a little bit money, you can always enroll in the auto ship, and then you can always cancel and re-sign up whenever. But just a helpful tip when it comes to the liquids from Sparkle & Co. So we're just finishing up the last nail here, and we are dipping into Chloe here, and we're just going to go ahead again and just make sure that all those liquids are completely absorbed, and then we're just going to press everything down. I do spend a lot of time, you will see here, making sure everything is pressed down before I move on to the other nail, because I just want to make sure the dip powders are keeping the shape of the jelly tip that we are working with here. So then what we're going to do now is we're going to dust off, and we're going to move on to the second dip. This is what it looks like with the first coat. I'm pretty much kind of loving the coverage on its own, but we're going to build it up with 2 coats today, and I'm only going to show you the second dip on this one nail right here just to save time, so we can move on to the fun process that you're probably all waiting for, is to see those fruit shaped clay pieces in action. So again, we're just doing a thin layer of that dip base, and then we are dipping into the cupcake liner. I prefer a cupcake liner, especially when I'm working with press-ons, because I have a little bit more wiggle room and I don't have to like kind of maneuver the nail into that jar and risk bumping it. I like having more surface area when it comes to dipping, especially with press-ons. So that is why you always see me, for the most part, using a cupcake liner. So we're just pressing everything down, and I'm loving the coverage and the color with that second dip here. You can see that green is pulling in a little bit more vibrant, and I just love it so much. It's just it's a beautiful green here. So we're going to dust off, and then you can really see the color payoff of the 2 dips versus 1 here. That 2, it is everything, but you could easily do like a sea glass kind of effect with 1 coat of Chloe as well. So you kind of have a different couple options here with that dip powder. So I did the rest of the 2 coats off camera again just to save some time. Now we're going in with the fruit pieces. So the hardest part for me of this whole entire mani was picking out what fruits we were going to place where and what fruits we were going to use. And I will have everything that we are using in today's video in that description box below, including these fruits. So I'm just making sure before we get started that I have all the fruit laid out just to make it a little bit easier. So now that we dusted off, we're going to do another layer of dip base, and I like to do it on the entire nail just to have like an even coverage. So then I'm using an orange wood stick, and I just dotted that orange wood stick on the nail just to pick up some dip base. And now we are going to go ahead and apply these really fun fruit pieces. I'm keeping 2 per nail. You could totally go crazy and add more, but I love how it looks with the 2. It's just super cute. I'm loving this whole set here. And that is easy as it is to apply these. I'm just using dip base, and then I'm going right in with the orange wood stick here, and we are picking up our fruit right here. I'm like debating, okay, what fruit do I want to use? Again, like I said, that was the hardest part for me. So we're going to use these really cute pink grapes here, and we're just going to go ahead, and I'm just really struggling here on my placement. We're going to put it right there. That looks good. And I'm just pressing it down here and just maneuvering it exactly where I want it here. And then we're going to go ahead and pick up another fruit here. And we're just going to keep adding fruit to all the nails. Again, we're going to do 2 pieces per nail. But again, options are endless when you're doing your nails at home. You could totally go crazy and just load up the nail and have like a whole like fruit salad on one of your nails for an accent nail as well. That would look really cool as well. So I always was very intimidated by these 3D clay pieces of fruit. I love them. I think they're adorable. I've really only seen them used with like dual forms and polygel, that kind of way, or with acrylic powder and monomer. I've never really tried it dabbling in with like the way that we're doing it right now, but I'm so glad I tried it on one nail and tested it out, because I completely fell in love with these. And let me tell you, they are super, super easy to work with. Yes, they're a little bit intimidating because they are naturally adding bulk to the nail, especially after you just spent all that time dipping and then you're adding your nail art and now you're adding bulk, and you're probably like, oh my gosh. But trust the process when it comes to this. I'm telling you, it is so fun to work with, and it's a really cute way to add like extra nail art to any kind of set. Again, you can just do it on one nail. You don't necessarily need to do it on all 5 like you see here. All right, so now that we have the fruit on the nail, my dip base did dry, so I am going in with another layer of dip base, and this time I am making sure I am getting that dip base in all the nooks and crannies of this fruit, because it is bulky and it is a little bit kind of like sticking up kind of weird. It's not completely flat. I want to make sure that I'm getting that dip base into all those areas, so then when we dip into the clear, it is just becoming one with the nail. Let that nail really kind of marinate in the clear to make sure that all that dip base is completely absorbed by this clear powder. That is key. Also, do not press down on that fruit. If you start pressing down on that fruit, you're just going to go ahead and smush that fruit into the nail, and you're going to create kind of like a bubble effect. Only press down on the sides like you just saw me do, just to make sure we're just keeping, the only reason why I pressed down on the sides of the nail was to just make sure we were keeping the shape of the nail, but do not press down on the fruit. You're going to create a huge blobby kind of mess. Just don't do it. It's very tempting to, because when you are working with chunky glitters, it is natural. We are in the habit of just pressing down those chunky glitters, but do not do that with these clay pieces, because we are putting a lot of dip base underneath it. So once we go ahead and dip into the clear, if we went ahead and press that down, you're going to create a huge glob, and it's just going to create a lot more extra work for you. All right, so I'm just letting that nail kind of marinate in the clear here, just to make sure all that dip base is completely absorbed. And then we're just going to gently press down the sides, and then that is it. I am going to do the rest of the clear off camera today just to save some time. But again, make sure you are giving that nail as much time as possible back into that clear to just absorb any of that dip base, because we are going pretty heavy-handed with the dip base for this step right here. So you just want to make sure that all that dip base is completely absorbed. All right, so we are done here with that first step of the clear encapsulation. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of activator. And the activation process was so satisfying when it came to this step. I mean, activation for me is pretty satisfying in general, but it was even more satisfying when it came to the fruit pieces. So when you are going in with your activator, you can see there that I did go in twice. You want to make sure that this nail is completely saturated by that activator, and going in a second time, I'm making sure I'm focusing on those fruits, making sure that activator is going underneath those fruits as well, because that is going to be key when it comes to hardening all that dip base and the clear powder, that we made sure it was underneath those fruits, if that makes sense. So make sure you are just doing a very generous amount. Do not skimp out on this step. Just trust the process when it comes to these fruits. Okay, another thing, after you apply the activator, you want to make sure you let this sit for about as long as you can. So I let my set sit for about 8 minutes. I really wanted to make sure that the activator was completely as hard as possible, especially in between the layer of the nail and the fruit, because that fruit is super thick. So I really wanted to give it enough time to just really settle. So the longer you can let this activator sit, the better. We're going to switch things up today for filing and buffing. We are going to be using the e-file. This is a total optional step, but this is a game changer. So this is a mini bit. You can see here that sanding bit is super tiny. It is perfect for making press-ons, and the mini bit itself and the sanding bands can be found on Sundara Nails website, including this drill. And I'm gonna only put it up to 2 RPM. And this drill is amazing for making press-ons because you can use it either at 1 RPM, which is barely anything, and 2, which is still barely anything. And it does not stall out. It is the best nail drill I have ever used. The combination of this nail drill and this mini bit set, it is everything. This mini bit is definitely a game changer, because when you are working with press-ons, you have like full control with this mini bit versus using that larger bit. If you do get the mini bit though, you do need to get the actual mini bit as well, that it goes on the sanding bands. So just keep that in mind. The regular sanding bit will not work when you are using these mini ones. You actually need a different bit, so just keep that in mind. But definitely worth the investment on this drill. And I do have a discount code with Nelly Bells and Sundara Nails. You can find that in the description box below, just to save a little bit. But if you love filing and doing press-ons and you love an e-file, even you don't even have to be experienced. I never use my e-file. I charged this thing like right when I got it back in November, and it's still holding a charge. And it is super easy to use because it's not stalling and it's on a very low speed. So we have full control. So I am working the sanding band on these pieces here and really making sure that these fruits are really flat. So the best part about this is that even though we have a clear barrier on it, you can still file all the way down to these fruits, and you're not gonna like cut the design because it's the same design through and through. So then after the e-file, I'm using a buffer block. If you're not comfortable using e-file, you're just gonna use a buffer block for this whole process until you get those fruits as flat as possible. And then I went in with my polar block just to clean up the finish here, and then I'm just cleaning up the shape ever so slightly, and that is it. The filing was a breeze. So keep that in mind when you're filing. Do not be scared of cutting into those fruits and having them lose their shape or design. That fruit piece is going to stay true to the design no matter how flat you get that fruit piece. So super fun. So you can really see the difference here on how flat we got those fruit pieces. So this is a nail that has not been filed and buffed yet, so you can really see that difference there and that bulk. But overall, a game changer. I really love that little mini bit sanding paper. It is everything. I finished up the rest of the filing and buffing off camera. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do another layer of activator. Even though I am going to seal this in with a layer of gel top coat, I still want to go ahead and do a layer activator. It's going to get rid of any of those harsh filing lines. It's also going to just complete the nail, and if any of those powders were disturbed, it's just going to set everything back in place. Then we're going to finish up with a layer of gel top coat, cure for 60 seconds, and here's the finished set. I love it. It is screaming summer. I am totally obsessed with how this looks. I'm really glad I finally tried these 3D fruit shape pieces. Like I said, I was very intimidated by them in the past, but they were super, super easy to work with. Again, the filing was really easy. You're just filing them basically down to the structure of your nail, and you're not going to disrupt the shape or the design or anything like that. So super awesome. And if you're not into fruit, there are tons of other fun designs when it comes to these 3D nail charms that are the clay pieces. So I will go ahead and link everything that we use in today's video in that description box below, including this beautiful color from Nelly Bells, which, by the way, this right here is like the perfect summer green because you can do so many different things with it. See, it's just like that perfect pop of brightness, but yet then we have like those fun, like bright summery colors pulling through with the fruit pieces. It's just, to me, was like the perfect background. But overall, I had so much fun playing with these fruit pieces. I hope you enjoyed seeing this set in action today. Don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you all in the next one.